and just so I've got the introductory slide here. So what are we doing for this hour and a half? The first thing is to let you know that it's going to be highly participative and practical. So it's not so much Annekatrin and I teaching you things about AI. It's about you discovering things about AI as we go through. So we're going to learn and discuss opportunities. But AI is moving so fast that there will be other people that know things about AI that Annekatrin and I don't. But the key thing is this idea of using AI to learn about AI. AI can teach you about itself, which is tremendously powerful. And we wanted to do this in a way where we can illustrate how using AI enables you to design and support sessions that you run with other people. We just wanted to clarify, we're going to be recording and transcribing this session through Otter AI just to illustrate how to use AI to actually look at how your meetings are actually running. But in the invitation for this, there were a couple of important things that it would be useful for you to get if you haven't already got them. One is to make sure you either have a copy of ChatGPT or Google Gemini open. We'll come on to how you get that if you haven't already done it, but the links are there. And if we can put those links into the chat, Annekatrin,
yep,
then
you there?
you can use it to open it up, but hopefully they've already opened an account. If you haven't, ChatGPT is easier to open an account on if you haven't got a Google account. Google Gemini is easier to open up on if you've already got a Google account. And we wanted you to bring an objective from a session that you've run in the past, or a session you're about to run, some form of defined objective, like, for instance, these words on this page, learn and discuss opportunities, etc., so that you've got that to use a bit later on. Is that okay with everybody? Wonderful. Then we were working on this aspect here in terms, and then we'd like to keep this going. So as new people come in, we'd really like you to just put in your name, where you're based, and 1 or 2 sentences about your feeling about AI, whether you're holding it at arm's length, whether you're trying to grab it in, whatever applies to you. That'll be absolutely great. And we'll look at that as we go on. But it's going to be very fast-paced, this. So we're going to be crashing through it. But I'm hoping that everybody at the end of it will have had some experience that will have really inspired them to carry on their thinking about AI and take it to the next stage. So to actually get AI on your computer, if you've got a Google account and you haven't got an AI account, I'd suggest you go to gemini.google.com, click sign in, and it will use your existing Google account, and that's all you need to enter, and you will be on Google Gemini AI. If you haven't got a Google account or you don't want to use it, go to chatgpt.com, click in sign up if you haven't already got an account, and sign up will just require an email address, a new password, a verifying email that it will send a thing to check who you say you are, your name and your date of birth to make sure that it's dealing with you appropriately. And that means you're all set, because you'll need those things. Annekatrin and I will teach you very little. Those tools you're loading up now will teach you most of what you learn in the next hour and a half, prompted by things we've designed in, of course, but we'll cover those as we go along. Is that okay with everybody? Now,
yeah. Yes, it's very good.
it might be helpful with so many on the call if you do a thumbs up, and Brian can keep an eye open. If anybody's got any problems, send a DM to Brian or to Alicia, and they will try and sort it out, or they will interrupt me or Annekatrin to try and get it sorted out. So because I can't multitask at all. If I'm talking,
Same here.
not
Same
me.
here. The moment I speak, I'm done. Okay, let's
So,
continue.
yeah. So, just checking. Annekatrin and I have various things here, and yes. So, what I'd like you to do now is Annekatrin will have put a prompt into the chat thing. And what we'd like you to do is in your chat window, down at the bottom is where you type in a prompt. And the prompt is basically in my work, and you type in what your work is, just change the to whatever it is to the type of work you do. And then you'll send it in, and you'll be asking it really how you actually it says in my work I use a lot of facilitation to whatever. How might I consider using you to help me make my work with people easier and more effective? So that should be in the chat, so you can just copy and paste, put in what your work is, and see what comes out. And when you've done that, we're going to split you into breakout rooms to discuss what came out of it. So in your breakout rooms, we're going to put in this text, which are the questions. Annekatrin, if you can put those questions into chat. And then when you're in your breakout rooms, I'd just like you to ask, how similar or different are the answers you got back from AI? Is there anything particularly noteworthy that you'd like to discuss with the people in your breakout rooms? What happens if you modify the question? How do you see it differently? And what one interesting thing will your group report back to the main group? Is there one particular question you'd ask of the main group also? Is that okay? Is everybody clear on what they're doing? Take that as a yes. So if we can dispatch them to the breakouts, please.
Right. Have we got you all back? Yes. Isn't it awful when you are interrupted mid-sentence? That's just not nice, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's something, that's a Zoom feature to develop to change that. Anyway, you're back. Wonderful. Does anybody want to share with the group what you've discussed and what you found? What was interesting? What do you want to report back? And is there anything else that really struck you? Anybody who wants to speak and anybody who wants to just put what they think and thought and experience into the chat is also fine. Who do we have? I cannot see everybody. Oh, Susanna.
Yeah, I mean, didn't have loads of time, but I think that I use ChatGPT, and there was a whole ream of stuff that it said it could kind of help me with, and I think where we got to in the group was saying, and now I want to ask it more, now I want to really test it and see whether what it says it can do, and how that compares with, me doing it alone. I can see with the workflow that it might be really useful, and somebody else in the group talked about transcription, but for example there was a thing, so stakeholder analysis, it said I can guide you in identifying key stakeholders and their interests, concerns, and how best to engage them. And I'm like, ooh, that would be interesting, what's it routing. So I'd like to that. So I'm a bit cautious about that. You know, some of the things like transcription, I can see it could really help with.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Alessandro's next, and then Marcia.
Okay. Alessandro.
Thank you. So I don't know if I got the exercise right, but I got I asked so I told in my work I use a lot of facilitation to let people see their project from a different angle. I wanted to keep it general, and the response I have is a general one. Facilitation is a powerful skill, especially for helping people gain new perspectives on their projects. And then he'd asked me, what specific techniques or approaches do you find most effective for this?
Okay. Anybody else wants to say anything? Or share anything in the chat?
Marietta?
Yeah,
Marietta.
Marietta here. Yeah, several insights. We were quickly focused on real-time generative AI support during a facilitated event. And we also asked ChatGPT what are some, and other things, what are some of the risks? And two were of course interesting. One was that it also pointed out that it could be lack of human generated ideas and contribution. This is one. And the other, I was surprised, was rather somewhere low ranking, which is data privacy concerns. And I know that at least here in the US, where I just moved to from Europe, this is a huge topic. And I would say that the answers were a bit shy on that part. You know, everything came before, as if at least ChatGPT wants to downplay the privacy, security, confidentiality issue. So something to bear in mind.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's really, really interesting. And we are going to talk about security and data protection a little later, and also about how we as humans actually can input much, much more. I don't know. I think we need to move on. If we don't, I know a lot of people have raised their hands. So my suggestion is that you put what you have to say, whether you can quickly put that into the chat so that we have it. We'll save the chat at the end and we will distribute the chat to you.
Can I just say one thing, Annekatrin? One of the things I noticed is some of you took that first exercise and made it much more involved than the exercise was. One of the things we've got an interesting situation here. There will be a whole load of mixture of abilities in this group of people. Some won't have hardly used AI at all. Some will be quite advanced in it. By the end of this, we will have taken you through quite a few things to do. We will have only started them, but hopefully we'll have convinced you that AI can help you through the rest of the journey if you know the right questions to ask. But we have to make sure we're starting slow because we don't want to lose anybody by getting too advanced too early on. So if you could just bear with us and try and help those around you along as we go through it, that'll be absolutely great.
Mike, do you want to take it forward from here? The next
So the next one then, the first one was just a straight question. How can ChatGPT help us with this? But the second thing is that getting AI to just pour out things is not engaging your brain. So it's much better to use AI to sharpen your own ideas. So we're pasting a prompt prefix into the chat. And what we'd like you to do this time around is you're all asked to bring an objective that you've used in a workshop or about to use in a workshop. And the prompt prefix will ask ChatGPT to critique that, that objective and give you a sense of what's going to happen if you use that objective and how you might improve it. So this is avoiding the spoon feeding of ChatGPT to you. This is about you doing the work and then saying to ChatGPT, go on, improve on it then. So if you could do that now, that will be absolutely great. And then we'll discuss the results of you trying to improve your own work with ChatGPT back in the breakout rooms. But you'll be in different breakout rooms.
And I've just put the prompt into the chat.
Thank you. It's hard to see if you didn't pin Mike.
Sorry, I was pinned. I do
You
apologize.
are pinned, Mike.
So it's in the chat anyway. So if you stick that prompt prefix in and after the colon, put the objective you brought into the meeting, and then it should give
Actually,
you
Mike, at this point, I need to talk about the sandwich.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are jumping a little bit
Apologies.
ahead, everybody. Before you do this exercise, I want to talk about a very, very powerful tool, a concept that basically creates a collaboration between the human, us, and the AI. And this, the model, the concept is called the sandwich model. If you want to show that, please, Mike, and the sandwich, thank you. Now, somebody mentioned before about the concerns that there are around plagiarism, around intellectual property, and the sandwich model can help prevent that. And I am 100% sure that intuitively you are actually already doing that. In some of the things you said, I can hear that. And so basically what this is, the concept, the model says that the first part is the human. So think about that you as the human, you put in the first prompt. You put in the idea that you want to explore. You ask questions, and then you send that off and you get a response from the AI that you're using. And it's colorful, it's multifaceted most of the times, and you may not like it, you may like it, you may want to refine it. You may have in the back of your head the group of people that you as facilitators may want to work with, right? And so then what you then add is the third level, and that's the human again, right? So you refine your prompt. You make it more specific to the group of people you want to work with. You have more questions. And so this is called the sandwich model, and it can go on and it can go on and it can go on. So because you will get another response once you've refined, and you may still want to refine that further or add something to get a different picture. In the end, this is collaboration between us, the human, and the AI, and we can tailor it what we want specifically to the group we want to work with. So in this next exercise, where we are breaking you out to evaluate it, try and apply that specifically. As I said, I'm 100% sure you're already doing that intuitively, right? But being aware that that is actually a concept and a tool that you can apply, even in workshops that you do with groups, where you do, for example, a brainstorming, you can apply that as well. So you as individual facilitator wanting to design and develop a workshop, or actually using it as a tool in a workshop. Oh, hello, people. I'm totally sorry. I have to
It's
be
you
quick.
that's absent.
Lovely to see you back. Wonderful. Wonderful. Is there anybody who would like to share anything? I mean, maybe a couple of minutes, a few people. If you don't want to speak or we don't get you to speak, please put your insights into the chat. What did you get out of this and how was it? And anything new? Soledad, yes, I'm with you. We are coming to that part where we are talking about saving and not saving chats. But in the meantime, first, anything about
if you can raise your hands, it'd be good to hear anything that came out of any of the groups. So just one group at a time. Perhaps group one to start with. Would somebody give us a quick overview of how that went?
I think I can speak a bit. This is Janaya. I'm from one of the groups. I think there were 5 members in my group, and one of the things I learned is we can argue or we can bribe the ChatGPT. That's what one of my colleagues told me in the group. I mean, bribe in the sense, still you're not giving me the best that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT responded to her saying that I'm sorry, I apologize. So let me try again, and I'll give you better results. I mean, that's a good learning for me. I think. Thank you for that, colleague. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, I think the one thing that it's really important to understand is eventually you reach a point where any work you do with ChatGPT is like 2 people working together, where you argue with each other, where you say, I don't understand how that's right because of this, and it will come back, and sometimes it will correct itself, and sometimes it'll push harder on where it is, just like another human being would. And then you really do get the value out of it. You really get benefit out of it.
You can also ask it to let you know exactly where the data come from that it's providing. And Gemini actually does that automatically these days. But ChatGPT, you can actually put that into the prompt. Marietta, if I pronounce your name correctly, you have learned that ChatGPT performs better if you offer an incentive such as $100 US. Very interesting. I think I need to try that one. Anybody else wants to share
Susan
what
had
they've
her hand
had?
up. I don't know whether we've lost her somewhere. Susan?
Okay, I just in my group, so I was kind of not big, but I used a big objective kind of, and I love the prompt that had the detail because I saw that my ambition rating was low, and it was 5 out of 10. And so my group suggested that I take that, right, and do a prompt on how can I make it more ambitious, and got some great information. So eye-opening for me because it's helping me realize that things that are in my head that I think people should just know because I say them or I put them on a slide or something, it's not necessarily enough detail for the people that I'm working with. So that is cool.
I think that's fantastic. And I think similar to what you've just said is, you can object and you can refine and see, ChatGPT is not superior to us, right? And I think this is what when we actually look at the sandwich model, where we see we are kind of collaborating, although it's not human to human. That is a very different approach and a very different mindset that allows you to say, sorry, I don't agree with this, right? Can you also look at whatever, or give me the data, where do you have this from, right? Which we would do in a conversation with other humans. And so you can apply that with a platform as well. And now I really don't know how to pronounce the name. Kara? Jewis?
Cara.
Thank you. You asked for critique and improvement, and ChatGPT gave you both, and that's brilliant. That's exactly what you do. So it's that, push back, ask for more, and then you get more. Which brings us very nicely to the next slide.
Is that my cue, Annekatrin?
It is your cue. Thank you, my goodness. Yes.
We're getting there again.
Absolutely. So this is about crafting effective prompts. The better your prompts are, the more you get out of the AI tool you are using. And so we are going to put, rather than, I've put resource slides together, slides with resources. And when we send you the chat, and when we send you the, we will also send you the resource slides, yeah? And so rather than now giving you really great prompts, which some of them are on the slides that we're going to send you, we want you to find them yourselves. And so I've just put into the chat what we would like you to try on your own now. So we are not going to break you out, but we're going to give you 3-4 minutes to work silently on your own and then see what you come back with. And that means if you look at the clock above Mike's head, when this is roughly about 10 to 5, we'll start talking, but you have 2-3 minutes to play around with this chat, please, silently. Alessandro, do you have a question?
I do actually. Thanks, Annekatrin. I don't know if it's probably slightly off topic, but I've started noticing that when I ask, sometimes when I ask questions, before it answers, ChatGPT says memory updated or something like that.
Yeah. It's the latest version of ChatGPT does what previous versions didn't, which is it learns about you.
Excellent. Yeah.
So it adapts to what you've said in the past as well as what you're saying now. You can switch that off.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
It's interesting. It gave me 6 tips in terms of guidance. And then I said, you know, as facilitators, we already do that. So can you be more specific? And then it gave me something, I would say, a little bit more useful.
Yeah.
So challenging it is helpful and really ask specific things.
And in ChatGPT 4.0, that will affect future answers you get as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Michael, Tam, I see what you put into the chat. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I guess what surprised me a little bit is my prompt to the AI was relatively simple. I'm basically using the prompt that you mentioned, you provide, like what guidance can you give me? The only thing I'm being specific is I pointedly refer you as I mean, talking to the AI, you know, being quite specific about like, all right, Llama 3 LLM, how can you help me? More insights. Then it provide me with those like 7 steps, quite clear steps, like how to write better prompts, like being specific, use natural languages, and then it automatically, without me asking, provide 10 prompts in using Llama 3 for facilitation work. And those 10 prompts are using the earlier questions that it provide, and it specifically write the prompts, which is just on a glance is quite good. Like I asked how it to help me to plan do a scenario planning, and now it writes the prompt saying, design a facilitation script for 30-minute sessions to align stakeholders in a new product feature, assuming we have 10 participants with diverse background and expertise. So just on a glance, it's quite thoughtful.
And you're using a different AI model, and each AI model
Yes.
responds differently. And the nature of the prompts you use will vary by AI model because they're built different ways.
Yeah.
So, for instance, in 01, which is the very latest Strawberry within ChatGPT, it's only on trial at the moment, but you've got to write very simple prompts. It works everything else out for itself, or claims it does.
Okay.
It would be interesting, isn't it? Because the latest model, it have that capability of self sort of self-reflecting and self-thinking, and you can see its own thinking logic. It will be interesting if we can read it, and then it might prompt us to think more deeply or more thoughtfully as well. So mind
That's
blowing.
it. The more it hones us, the better we'll be. Annekatrin.
Yeah, I'm just following the chat at the moment about how up to date is ChatGPT actually. But given that there are new versions coming out and have been coming out, it is more up to date. I don't know what the most recent one is. So Gordana, you say it's September 2023.
Yeah.
Susan,
Yeah,
there are new versions.
there is new
Yeah.
version. If you're on GPT-4,
Yeah,
that's 2 versions old already.
yeah.
There is ChatGPT 4.0, which is the one that does have memory updating every time you type in, and it's actually reads the web as well from time to time. And then there's ChatGPT 0.1, which is the one that they're just testing at the moment.
Yeah. I think it's time to move on. Oh, Alessandro, no, you had your hand raised. So let's have you.
Sorry, just no, I had one question, but then I switched to another one. I'm not sure if you are touching upon this later on, but the paid version of ChatGPT, how is it any different? Maybe a question for later.
Within 4.0, there's a limit to how much you can do on the free version. So, for instance, I'm going to share a PDF with you a bit later on, and it will only get you through about half of that before it says you've used up your allowance for today. You have to come back tomorrow. So that's one difference. The second is in certain versions of ChatGPT, you can't attach things when you ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. In Gemini, you can, right? So that's the difference. Gemini is free. You can also do attachments. But in ChatGPT, if you have the free version, I think you can ask 4 or 5 questions and you can't attach anything.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Okay. Shall we move on? And we'll tell you what Mike and I did in preparation of this session. We used ChatGPT and we used Gemini, and we put prompts in terms of how would you design the session, what prompts do you suggest, what structure would you suggest, and it came up with, Mike, can you put this into the chat or shall I? And after
I'll put it into the chat. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise you might get the 4th one in there.
Yeah. We could tell you all sorts of things. So we compared, we were surprised how similar the answers were sometimes to the word, quite interesting. But also in some aspects, ChatGPT was actually considerably more concise and more elaborative. And then Mike and I picked from each what we thought would be very good, and we ended up with this session. Now we could, I think I have somewhere an 11-page document for this, which is really, I'm not going to talk you through that because you probably drop off and think this is boring. But we would like you to try it yourselves, right? So these are the 3 suggestions that ChatGPT came up with, how we structure the session or what we should definitely include. And again, you have about 4 minutes on your own, 3 minutes to play with this. Again, it's silent work. We're not going to break you out to see what you come up with when you play this with this, and make it your own. Play with the questions in terms of your own piece of work that you have in mind, and then see what's coming back. Is that clear? Any questions?
How
Okay.
much time do we have in this
Yeah, as I
moment?
said, it's about 3 minutes. Dawn.
I just want to mention when we did the original breakout where we were asking it if our purpose statement for a session, and mine was on strategic planning. So I'm finding that no matter what prompts I put in, it thinks I'm still talking about strategic planning.
Okay.
So you have to let it know,
Yeah, if you
start a new chat or let it know
start
I'm
a
on
new
a fresh
chat.
topic or something.
Start a new chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A new thread. Just go up and
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
at the beginning here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought people should know that. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Just a thing, when you hit the limits on ChatGPT 4.0, which is definitely the best model, if you go up to the top left-hand corner and select ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 3.5, you'll still have more capacity.
Well, look at you. I didn't know that. Thank you. I'm learning something.
Both learned a lot from Mike today. In the
Absolutely.
starting
Absolutely.
from the presentation
I could be
hacks
talking
that we
rubbish,
learned.
you know.
Well, we can try it out, Mike. Does anybody want to share anything in the chat or unmute and speak? What happened? What did you try? Yeah,
But
Soledad?
it was really, I did the second one that showcased specific AI tools. And I thought it was really interesting because it was, you know, specific to 7 different aspects of facilitating workshops on brainstorming, content creation, participant engagement, collaboration, post-workshop analysis. So it really broke it down. And on description and workshop application. And yeah, I knew some of them, but you'll always learn something. Some AI application you didn't know. But I also wanted to ask a question. One thing that we started using, you know, in Zoom, you can include AI transcription after a meeting. And it's terrible.
It is.
Absolutely awful. Like
It is.
I've been using it for 3 months, and I'm like, every time I edit it, I'm like, it just is listening to something else.
Yeah, it's not there yet. There are much better transcription AI tools. Zoom is not completely up to speed yet with what else is out there. Mike, I don't know whether you want to talk about about Otter later on anyway.
We might have a transcription here. The best thing to do is not the analysis in Zoom. Get the transcription in Zoom, or get a transcription another way, and then put it into ChatGPT.
Okay. And see what comes up. Yeah.
Sorts of questions about it, like sentiment analysis, or who did the most talking, or anything like that. It's much more effective.
But again, you need to be careful, because sometimes the Zoom transcription is incorrect and gives an incorrect sense. So what you then put into ChatGPT might not be quite correct again. So I wouldn't just copy and paste this into somewhere and distribute it. Yeah. Anybody else, or want to put it into the chat? If not, I think, Mike, it's time to move on. We still have quite a few things to cover.
Question. How long do you think a prompt can be before these AI tools have a problem with it? Anybody want to take a guess? Just shout it out. Nobody gonna guess? Nobody brave enough? Or you're all muted? That's the thing.
So is the question how many characters, or how many is Susan here? Is the question how many characters the prompt can be, or?
Well, I just how long, how many words, whatever.
It can be long. It can be super long.
As long as you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume it's
I
quite
want to take
unlimited.
you on to something else here. So the thing about it is that if you really want to give a long prompt to ChatGPT, you can write an entire PDF. And the one that I've written that I'm going to take you on to now is 13 pages long, and it's a prompt, but you load it using the paperclip tool into ChatGPT. You just hit the button to send it, and then ChatGPT realizes it has to interact with you. It doesn't look anything else from you. So, you know, one of the key questions that I've been wrestling with, because you know, one perhaps difference, although I imagine some of you on here are consultants as well, is I facilitate, and I do a lot of facilitation because I find that the best way to consult. I'm actually a consultant. That's what my clients employ me for. But one of the challenges there as a consultant is that, you know, if your clients are going off track, it gets a bit problematical if you have to keep on correcting them, because that human imbalance begins to show and you begin to lose them a bit. So I've been interested in ChatGPT for my clients in terms of if I can get ChatGPT to correct them, then I can just facilitate that rather than be the person doing the correcting. So I've been trying to get various tools or various pre-prompts like the one you use for the objectives for clients to put in ahead of what they thought of, perhaps in a workshop, and get them to get the answers directly and then just to discuss it afterwards. So one question is, can you broker a relationship between them and AI to help them better design their own meetings and workshops? And so that was the challenge I set myself. And I'm going to paste some text into the chat now. Control.
I've sent the link to the
Oh, you
tool.
have? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Annekatrin.
No worries.
I'm running off script again, aren't I?
No.
So what I'd like you to do is click on the link that's in the chat there, and on it you'll find a PDF. And if you look at the PDF that's there, you'll find that you can only read the first half page out of the 13 pages. The rest of it I left in there, but you'll notice that at the top of the page to download the PDF, it just says click here to download the Meeting Design AI Configurator. And when you download it, you'll see that there's, in fact, it's a third of a page. It says welcome to ChatGPT, and that's it. But then the other pages look entirely blank. The reason they look entirely blank is because all the writing's white. And the reason all the writing is white is because I didn't want to confuse my clients by getting into the detail of what the prompt actually says. I wanted them to get the benefits out of it by it taking them through step by step. I figured if I gave them this, they'd start to read it and then they get confused, and then they, you know what we people are like. So I figured I'd diffuse all of that. And if you put this, if you've got the thing with a paperclip, either Gemini, or if your ChatGPT subscription with the clip hasn't run out yet, just load up the PDF, hit the return button, and see what it begins to generate for you. It'll ask you questions and it'll take you through 13 steps. And those 13 steps will begin by clarifying your objective and challenging it and asking you, what difference do you want to make to the people who are in this workshop? How do you want them to be different at the end? And then it'll go from that to actually saying how long have you got, what's the space like, etc., and so forth. Then it'll ask you, do you want suggestions as to what you might do in that, and then you can correct that. You can go back at it and say, actually, I don't like doing that exercise. I want to do this one, and it'll blend all that in. And eventually, if you take it right the way through to the end, step 13. It will have created for you a session plan. It'll have created for you a meeting invite. It'll have created for you the basis of a slide deck, and everything will be there for the basis of you running your workshop. That is how good ChatGPT can be.
And as I said, you can already in the Gemini version, you can put it in already, because you can attach documents. So try that with Gemini. If you are on a ChatGPT version where you can't attach documents.
Annekatrin, sorry, it's Maria Elena here.
Yeah.
I tried to attach the PDF on Gemini because I finish all the type that I can do with ChatGPT, but the system said that the document is not supporting from the system, by the system.
Oh, okay.
That's I'm just wondering, because Gemini is a Google platform. I wonder whether this has anything to do with your Google setup.
Well, you managed to get it to work first time round, because
I
it was
did.
actually
I did.
just as a thing here.
Yeah.
The structure for this meeting came from Annekatrin putting this into Google Gemini, and it generating the whole thing for her, which blew her mind at that point.
Yes, that's absolutely, yeah.
And then we adapted it to make it so it worked between us. So all we can say is, for the purposes of this hour and a half, just try and persevere. If you want to stay on free plans, you may have to fiddle and around. But actually, before I ran out the limits of ChatGPT, I realized that I was using it so much to do so much that I felt a heel for being on the free plan. So I started paying for ChatGPT because I felt a better human being for doing so, since I was getting so much out of it. If that makes sense.
It does. Anyway, shall we move on? We have about 15 minutes to go.
Yeah. I will move on.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, I've lost my cursor. I've got 4 screens here and it's always not on the right one.
Right, this is slide 12. Okay, so we are talking about controlling data, right? This topic has come up in the session earlier, and it is, and for very good reasons, something that is of concern. There is data security, there is information security, there is what are you doing with the data I'm giving you, there is how much do I need to be actually aware what data I should and really shouldn't put in. And so we are not showing the whole slide right now. There's a lot of text on that slide, and I just wanted you to follow me as I actually share my screen and tell you where you can control the data more or better on ChatGPT and on Gemini. So I'm going to start with ChatGPT. Can everybody see my screen? Yeah? Excellent.
Yes. Yes.
So at the top right-hand side, you see the circle. This has my initials. This will have your initials or picture if you uploaded one. And you click on that and you go into settings. And on the left-hand side here, you have a panel and you can scroll. I would suggest you go through that panel and look through what you need to do. For the purpose of this particular topic, we are in general at the top of the left-hand side, and you can see that you can archive chats, and that you can archive all chats, and that you can delete all chats. Right? That's pretty much the maximum of what you can do with ChatGPT. What you can also do is you go onto your left side panel in your screen. If you hover over a topic, and then you see 3 dots coming up, and you hover over that, and then you click on it, the options appear. And here is where you can delete a chat. And it is gone. This is all that you can literally do on ChatGPT for now. If I go into Gemini, can everybody see Gemini? My Gemini screen?
Yeah.
Thank you. Because it's a Google tool, you need to set your entire security settings on Google, right? In the platform, in the Gemini platform itself, you have on the left-hand side again a panel, and you click on activity. And here is where you can set whether your chats are to be saved, whether you want that, or whether you want the saving turned off. Now I have it turned off. If I want to turn on, I will need to click on this and then just say, yes, please. I have turned it off. So you can, when you save chats, basically the tool learns from it for the public, right? I'm not that kind, you know, and also there are some things where I think really this is quite specific, and for intellectual property reasons, I don't want my chats to be saved. So I have clicked that I don't want my chat saved. Gemini agrees with that and does that, but only after 72 hours. So even I have put, don't save my chats, it saves it for 72 hours, and then the chat is gone. So bear that in mind. There are literally something like, well, 73 hours where it's still there to be used. So that's controlling the data. But as I say, if you want to be more specific, you have to go into Google to set your security settings. Now, having just talked about this, even if you set the platforms, it doesn't prevent you from having to read the privacy policies, as awful as that sounds, but that's it, right? Nobody of us really likes reading privacy policies, but in this case, it is absolutely adamant that you do. And especially if you work in an organization and if you have policies around using AI, the tools also develop so fast that, and again, it sounds really bad, but you need to keep reading privacy policies when there is a new update. So much for controlling data. And what I've just put down, what you go through, you will see on that slide, controlling data. Right, if you don't get anywhere, there is a support on each of the platforms that you can contact, and you will find the contact on that platform. I'm now swiftly moving forward, and I know it's a huge topic. And what we are talking here about security is by far just scratching the surface, if that. So keep looking into this.
Annekatrin, sorry to interrupt. Susan has her.
Susan, yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I was just going to ask, I think you may be covering it, that memory thing under ChatGPT. That's, I don't know if you're going to be covering that as part of the continuation of this conversation.
We are now going into personalizing, customizing ChatGPT. So that's the next part, if you want to, and if you're not covering right there what you might want to discuss, let's come back to that, Susanne. Do you want to go into the next slide then? Customize ChatGPT.
You want this yet? This was what you had under controlling
Yeah,
data.
so this is under controlling data. You can read through that when we distribute the slides. Thanks, Mike.
No
But it's literally pretty much what I've just explained. Right, and I'm going to share my screen again. And we are now going to look into how you customize ChatGPT. Again, you go into the top right-hand corner where your initials are or your photo, and you go into customize ChatGPT. And there are two boxes that pop up. What would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? So you can answer, you can put some things in. So at the moment I have the location, my profession and role, who my target audience are, my key responsibilities, where I'm mostly engaged, my knowledge and expertise, right? And I could go on, there are more things that you could potentially put in. Oops, that just went, hold on. And the second question is, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So that's around tone and formality, the level of detail I want, examples and or analogies, avoidance and ambiguity. You could put in something about acronyms and those kinds of things. And then, let me just see whether wrong. So this is what I have at the moment. And in the slide that we're going to distribute, I'm going to give you some examples of what you could put in. There is a little list in there, okay, for both questions. But again, use them, don't use them, make it your own. That's the most important thing. There are moments, so then you can switch it on. And so the answers you will get will be customized according to what you put in here, right? There are moments when I actually switch it off. And that is when I don't want anything that's particularly for me or my customers, but when I literally want to broadly brainstorm and be really creative, where I don't want anything to kind of nearly manipulate or advise ChatGPT on what to put, right? When I really want to browse and really want to explore, that's when I switch that off. And you can switch it back on later on, right? So that's about that part. And again, in the slides, Mike has now put the rest up. I'm giving you some examples of topics that you could put in or areas that you could put in. But by all means, make it your own. Suzanne, did this, you were asking that question, did that kind of cover what you were asking?
There's something, it's under settings. And then under, where is it? Personalization, and it says memory.
Yeah.
So is that different, or is that?
That's basically part of 4.0. So this is the thing where it offers the thing, so it remembers, so you can clear it, etc. The other thing is, if you want the memory,
just Mike, just adding to that. So it's literally what I've just explained. I'm just using a different version, right? It's the same thing.
The other thing, though, to flag up is this: that when you're in 4.0, if you come down here, there's a temporary chat option, which means it will remember the memory for most of the chats that you've had, so that it will bring them into account. But if you want to go and ask questions that you do not want to go into memory, you do temporary chat, and it does two things. One is it will not use any past chat in answering it, and B, that whatever it answers will not be available to any future chat.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Right. Next, Mike,
Next.
Otter, and what it did out of this session. What did it make out of this session?
I haven't actually done that. It doesn't seem
Okay.
to have actually recorded it, but I
Oh,
don't think
no.
we've got time
Okay.
for it anyway, because we've got 5 minutes, and it would be better to actually get people's thing from it. But actually, it does work if you get a transcript, but dump it into ChatGPT. Save it as a Word document and attach it, or something like that if it's a bit too long to cut and paste. And it will work it through, and you can ask supplementary questions on it. So I think the last bit then is any questions and next steps. So is there any questions in the last 5 minutes that you have of each other or of us? Susan?
Hi, Mike, it's Susan Wheeler. I'm just curious, why are you uploading a PDF and not just like a Word file or a text file? Like, what's the logic behind that?
Partly because PDFs tend to be smaller and they tend to be more resilient to... See, I'm sharing documents with other people, and with
Okay.
Word documents, it depends on what they open it on, how their settings are, etc., and so forth. It creates problems. With a PDF, it's fairly much set in. Also, in terms of the one that I shared with you, I didn't want people revealing all the white stuff and then sharing it again as a PDF. So I kept that out. Actually, if you want to know what's in the white stuff, it's not difficult. You just have to highlight the whole thing, copy it, and paste it into Word.
I did
And of course,
that.
Word,
No, I did that. But what I'm curious about is, like, if you're working personally on your own with ChatGPT, why are you choosing to upload a PDF file? Like, forget about you sharing things with other clients. I get that. But if I'm like, why would I choose a PDF over just a text file or something?
Not sure. I started off with PDFs because in many programs, that's all it tends to accept. But I think, you know, it's one of those things that I have tried it with Word and it does work. But I don't know whether it will work again tomorrow. And PDFs are so much more or less hostile to different systems. It's a safer option, basically.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want to talk about the facilitator special interest group, and then we just wrap up with some insights?
So basically, if you'd like to join us, because we're all trying to find out about this, Paul Nanasdia has created a special interest group within the IAF. And the idea is it's still finding its feet at the moment, and it might be finding its feet for a little while yet. But the idea is that it's a group of people who want to learn from each other and want to help other facilitators get the very best out of AI, because whatever happens, AI will change how we facilitate. And it'll either change how we facilitate by making us more successful, or it will change how we facilitate by other facilitators getting better than we are at various things and us losing business. So we want to make sure that, particularly in the IAF, that people have what they need and are comfortable with it so they can make their own choices in that space. So please come and join us, help us shape this special interest group. And as one of the members put recently, the key thing, if we're successful, AI will no longer be special interest in IAF.
Nice talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bless you. We enjoyed it. You've
Have
been
a good evening or day or lunch or wherever you are in the day.
Yeah.
Be well.
Thank you very much to both of you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank
It was a
you.
great session.
Bless you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, hopefully, Brian and Alessia, this has done what you wanted it to do.
It sure did.
It was great.